speaking in the language of business. And the language of business is a lot of times numbers. So we have all this data. What are we going to do with this data to show the impact? And so the organizations that are doing this effectively aren't starting with the data, and this is a very important part. Even though they have the data, they're starting and thinking backwards from what is that organization goal that the organization has. As an example, again, it could be we need to grow into a second-tier city in China or in India, or we need to enter some of the new emerging markets of Myanmar and Vietnam. So breaking that down to what type of capabilities we're going to need on the ground in those markets, how we facilitate sort of the hiring, the development processes, and the engagement and retention processes in these new environments. And then thinking from that, what are the critical questions that we need to ask? Based on that, we can then tell a story to say, okay, let's gather data around, here's going to be the data we need for hiring type of profile. And if you do that, here will be your return on that investment, and they will deliver X amount of sales. A second example could be about how organizations are starting to break down the rewards investments. So you take a salary incentive benefits programs, which can be arguably 40-50% of the balance sheet for many organizations. What is the return on that major investment that we have? And how do we, going back to sort of the expectations of employees, maybe personalize some of them? Because we know Gen Y is looking for a little bit more on benefits. They want flex time. They want sort of that ability to work where they want to work. If you're more experienced, you may say, I want a little bit more on the retirement experience, and can I get some financial wellness advice to actually help support sort of my journey into retirement in the next phase of my life. And that return could be in performance or retention or engagement levels, and having that metric you're drawing to. It allows an HR to speaking the language of business, which is that you have an investment that you need to make in people, and here will be the return, and measured in terms of outcomes that the business will accept: engagement, retention, or performance. Thinking backwards, so understanding what the specific goal is, the business goal, and breaking that down into specific capabilities that the organization needs to build, and always having that as sort of the target out there that we're driving towards. Second way is to really have a skill around critical thinking. So the ability to ask the right question on what is our hypothesis, or what is the profile, as an example, of a key account manager or a hunter or an effective compliance officer, and really critically challenging the business in some space to identify the questions that we need data on. With very key part of that storyline is, what is the measure of success at the end? Is it things like retention? Is it engagement? Is it a productivity measure? Always keeping that. So thinking backwards, critical thinking, and really building a story.